As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Is this the greatest opening sequence in cinema?
I know I'd go from rags to riches.
Goodfellas, a Martin Scorsese picture, the Martin Scorsese picture as far as I'm concerned, was released on September 21st of 1990. It was never a cult classic, it was never underappreciated, it didn't flop at the box office. Even Roger Ebert of Siskel and Ebert proclaimed that it was better than The Godfather. Its place in cinema history is undeniable, and its place in my list of film favorites is undeniable too. But the greatest film of all time isn't the question I'm asking today now, is it?
Oh, hi, Mark.
No. Now, just like any good YouTube video, hell, just like any piece of entertainment, the beginning is of particular importance. Its job is to garner intrigue, to hook you onto a premise, to lure you into the trap that is the movie. Many iconic films will come up in this discussion of the greatest openings of all time, and frankly would be here all day, and I don't have time for that. But what I will do is gracefully tell you why I think the first 15 minutes of Goodfellas deserves to be in that discussion. Listen, I know this isn't some niche opinion, I'm not reinventing the wheel, I just want to talk about it, okay? So shut up and listen, thank you. In its simplest definition, an opening is supposed to set the mood, introduce us to the main characters, allow us to become familiar with the personalities and themes that will be the lifeblood of our narrative, all so we can understand the actions that occur for the rest of the story. And Scorsese not only introduces us to Henry, Jimmy, and Tommy, he gives center stage to the actual main character of Goodfellas, the lifestyle.
I think I brought more of almost like a documentary attitude towards it. I wanted to show you the star of the movie as a way of life, not a character.
Now, I first watched this film probably when I was around 13, 14. Yes, I know it's R-rated. What are you gonna do? Snitch? Granted, a lot of stuff went over my head on that first viewing, but just like the kid Hendry,
How you doing, Andrew?
this world that was just across the street from him or across the screen from me was utterly gripping. It was romanticizing, it was appetizing, it was everything Scorsese wanted me to see. And oh boy, the way he shows it. From the music, to the cinematography, to the way it's edited, he wants you to fall in love. Right off the bat, we get this great imagery of Henry peeping through his windows almost like prison bars, watching these larger-than-life figures existing in perceived freedom. Listen, everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but I fucking love stylized narration. And it doesn't get much better than this. Henry sounds like a walking infomercial for wise guys, and just delivers some of the most memorable lines in film history.
Paulie might have moved slow, but it was only because Paulie didn't have to move for anybody. The way I saw it, everybody takes a beating sometime. One day, some of the kids from the neighborhood carried my mother's groceries all the way home. You know why? It was out of respect.
The narration also acts as a way for Henry to speak into our ear, to lie to us. He keeps that friendly tone so we believe him, trust him. And after all his envying, the cold open shows us that Henry got what he wished for. This first scene is just so blunt and raw, it sets the tone immediately. But what I find so great is how Scorsese chose to start it, with wise guys rubbing their eyes, wondering if they hit a rabbit.
What is that? Jimmy.
What's up?
Did I hit something?
What the fuck is that?
There's no need for gangster talk about money, murder, or drugs to define these characters. Instead, we see just how desensitized they are. So numb to violence that they barely consider the possibility that the man they just brutally beat the shit out of might still be alive. The imagery here is iconic, drenched in the crimson glow of the brake lights, as the very air around them is stained with blood. Oh, Martin! You deserve to have your eyebrows fluffed for this shot alone. Now, not only is there an abundance of great filmmaking techniques, but there's so many intelligent breadcrumbs dropped in these 15 minutes, giving incredible insight into Henry Hill as a character. And the main thing that I learned is that he is deadly afraid of living a life of normality.
It was there that I knew that I belonged. And to me, it meant being somebody in a neighborhood that was full of nobodies.
His motivations are so rooted in escaping the miserable life people like his father lead that he starts to familiarize himself more with his adoptive mob family than his actual family. And that's an important distinction to remember between him and his compatriots Jimmy and Tommy. Jimmy has a literal fetish for crime and Tommy is a fucking insecure nutjob. Henry is relatively normal. He never kills anyone. We see him help the first person he'd ever seen get shot. And that gentler side of him is ever present. This opening is such a crucial caveat to show how this lifestyle pulls in desperate youngsters.
Because it's important for the audience to be taken through this lifestyle, the way children are, in a way, of growing up in that area, in those areas where they're attracted to it because of the what appears to be glamorous.
One thing I always tend to think about when I watch Goodfellas is the similarities between Henry and Christopher from The Sopranos.
It's like just the fucking regularness of life is too fucking hard for me or something. I don't know.
I'm an average nobody. Get to live the rest of my life like a schnook.
As badass as the "I always wanted to be a gangster" line is, I think it carries a deeper significance. You see, this scene isn't the beginning of Henry's story per se, or the start of the film's narrative, but to me it does signify the beginning of the end for Henry Hill. After they kill Bats, the fantasy's over. And within that freeze-framed look, we see a man who always wanted to be a gangster, but definitely doesn't want to be one anymore. And I just think that's genius. I have no doubt for the rest of my life, whenever the topic of opening sequences comes up, my mind will jump straight to Goodfellas. And if I ever meet Mr. Scorsese, I'll make sure to tell him that Marvel movies are real cinema, you fuzzy prick. But then after that, I'll tell him that he succeeded with those first 15 minutes to have me wanting to be a gangster too. Until, of course, the end of the movie where I was like,
Oh. Fuck all that!
I'd be curious to know what opening scene / sequence stands out to you as one of the greats. Let me know in the comments below. And if you think I'm a clown and I amused you at any point in this video, it'd be great if you could like and subscribe. And as always, appreciate you watching.